It takes more than just deceit or manipulation to win an argument. Understanding human psychology, building a compelling case, and fostering mutual respect are all part of healthy communication and persuasion. The Socratic method. This method entails asking your opponent questions in order to encourage them to think critically about their own position. For example, if they argue that a particular policy is a good idea, ask them to explain why they believe that. Then, ask them follow-up questions to elicit a more in-depth response to the issue. The Socratic method is an effective way to navigate and influence conversations without using force. Instead of stating your point directly, you lead the discussion with a series of thought-provoking questions, encouraging the other person to reconsider their position. Begin by asking open-ended questions that encourage them to express themselves more fully. What leads you to believe that? For example, quote, "Can you help me understand your perspective on this issue?" This not only shows genuine interest, but it also encourages the other person to reconsider their beliefs. Continue probing questions after they've laid out their case. Like the question, "Have you considered alternative viewpoints?" as well as, "What might be the implications of that viewpoint in different situations?" This assists in exposing any inconsistencies or gaps in their argument. The Socratic method does not seek to impose ideas on individuals but rather to guide them towards self-discovery. It promotes a more collaborative and less confrontational environment. You can subtly introduce counterpoints through well-crafted questions as the conversation progresses, allowing the other person to reconsider their stance without feeling attacked. The Socratic method frequently leads people to voluntarily reassess their positions by encouraging critical thinking and reflection. It's a respectful approach that encourages the exchange of ideas and fosters mutual understanding, increasing the likelihood that your point of view will be taken seriously. Remember, the most important thing is to approach the conversation with humility and a genuine desire to understand. This method does not guarantee winning in the traditional sense, but it does encourage more thoughtful and constructive dialogue, creating an environment in which both parties can learn from one another. Frame your argument in terms of benefits. Arguments that show how they will benefit personally are more likely to persuade people. So, when arguing for something, try to focus on the advantages it will provide to your opponent. It's effective to frame your arguments in terms of the benefits they bring when making your case. Instead of focusing solely on what you oppose, emphasize the positive outcomes or benefits of your viewpoint. This positive framing not only makes your argument more appealing, but it also positions it as a beneficial and constructive option. For example, instead of saying, "We shouldn't cut the budget for education," you could say, "Investing in education ensures a brighter future for our society by fostering innovation and preparing our youth for success." This method shifts the emphasis from a negative to a positive vision, making it more compelling. Think about how your proposal will affect individuals or the community. If you're arguing for a new policy at work, emphasize how it will boost productivity, morale, or contribute to the team's overall success. People are more likely to support ideas that promise positive outcomes. Using concrete examples and success stories can also help to reinforce the advantages of your case. Share real-life examples of how similar approaches resulted in positive outcomes, providing tangible evidence to back up your point of view. By framing your argument in terms of benefits, you're doing more than just stating your case. You're imagining a better future. This approach appeals to people's aspirations and desires, increasing their likelihood of agreeing with your point of view. It shifts the conversation from a conflict of interests to a collaborative effort toward common goals. Use positive language. People are more likely to accept arguments presented in a positive light. As a result, refrain from using derogatory language or attacking your opponent's character. Instead, concentrate on the facts and the advantages of your argument. When you're in the middle of an argument or debate, the language you use can have a big impact on the tone and outcome. Using positive language can make your case more appealing and increase your chances of convincing others. Instead of focusing on what you oppose, consider what you support and the advantages your viewpoint provides. Instead of saying, "I don't agree with your approach," you could say, "I see the potential in exploring another angle that might yield even better results." This not only expresses your dissatisfaction but also introduces a positive alternative. Avoid using words that may come across as confrontational or negative. Replace, "This is a bad idea," with, "I believe there might be a more effective approach." Positive language fosters a constructive environment and makes room for collaborative discussion. Instead of focusing on the weaknesses of the opposing viewpoint, emphasize the strengths of your proposal. Highlight the positive outcomes and advantages of your ideas. This does not imply ignoring potential challenges, but rather framing them as opportunities for improvement. Positive language includes how you address others. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," say, "I appreciate your perspective, and I'd like to share a different viewpoint." This not only keeps the conversation open and collaborative, but it also maintains respect. Finally, using positive language is about telling a story that inspires and motivates. It shifts the emphasis away from a defensive or combative approach and toward a more inclusive and solution-oriented approach. This increases your chances of winning the argument by making your ideas more inviting and appealing to others. Be confident and assertive. Someone who is confident and assertive is more likely to persuade others. Stand up straight, make eye contact, and speak clearly and slowly when arguing for something. When trying to win an argument, confidence and assertiveness are essential. Maintain eye contact and speak clearly and steadily while standing tall. Projecting confidence not only strengthens your message but also influences how others perceive your ideas. Avoid hesitant language or phrases that undercut your argument. Instead of, "I think," say, "I believe," or, "I'm confident that." This subtle shift in language conveys confidence in your point of view. Avoid overly apologizing or qualifying your statements when presenting your arguments. Be direct and succinct, concentrating on the key points that support your position. This confidence can command attention and convey a strong sense of conviction. Nonverbal cues play a role in projecting confidence as well. Make deliberate gestures and maintain an open and relaxed posture. These cues indicate that you are confident in your position and open to discussion. It's critical to strike a balance between confidence and openness. While being assertive, keep an open mind and be willing to adjust your stance in response to compelling counterarguments. Confidence, when combined with a willingness to engage in a thoughtful exchange, can strengthen your position. Remember, the goal is to assert your point of view with conviction, not dominate the conversation. Confidence spreads, and when others sense your belief in your ideas, they are more likely to take them seriously. The effect of anchoring. Using the anchoring effect strategically can help you improve your persuasive abilities in an argument. This psychological principle entails introducing an initial concept or number that serves as a springboard for subsequent discussions. When presenting your case, begin with a strong, well-supported point or figure that can influence how others perceive the rest of your argument. If you're negotiating a budget, for example, start with a reasonable but slightly higher figure than what you ultimately hope to achieve. This higher anchor can serve as a reference point for the discussion and may sway the final agreement in your favor. Consider how you present information. Whether it's a statistic, a comparison, or a key point, make sure it fits with your overall argument and comes early in the discussion. This creates a reference point that can subtly guide the discussion's direction. Consider anchoring emotionally as well. Early on, share a compelling story or example that relates to your argument. This emotional anchor can linger in your audience's minds, shaping their perceptions and increasing the likelihood that they will view subsequent information through the lens you've established. However, it is critical to maintain an ethical foundation and avoid manipulation. Check that the initial anchor is relevant, true, and contributes to the overall integrity of your argument. The goal is to frame the conversation in a way that benefits your position while avoiding deception. You strategically shape the context of the argument by using the anchoring effect, making it more likely that subsequent information and ideas will be interpreted in relation to the anchor you've set. This subtle psychological technique can help increase the overall impact and effectiveness of your persuasion efforts. It should be noted that these tricks should not be used to manipulate or deceive others. Instead, use them to effectively communicate your ideas and persuade others to see your point of view.